Chapter 13. Lavelle Knows More. Maxine slept for most of the day. At 6 p.m., Grabowski arrived to take her home. She got in the car and closed her eyes. After a few minutes, she opened them to see Lake Michigan in front of her. Grabowski was parking in front of his house. "What are we doing at your house?" asked Maxine. "You're staying here until we find this killer. I want to keep an eye on you." "Do you give this protection to all women who are attacked?" Maxine smiled at him. "Only you." Grabowski smiled back. "Thanks for taking care of me." He helped her into the house, and she fell fast asleep on his bed. The next morning, Maxine awoke early and found Grabowski sitting outside reading the newspaper and drinking coffee. He was wearing purple swimming trunks and a t-shirt. Maxine looked at the blue waters of Lake Michigan. "What a beautiful spot for breakfast. I wish I felt strong enough for a swim." Grabowski smiled. "You can come back any morning you want." Maxine smiled at him. She sat down on the steps. "What happened while I was asleep? Did you find Aaron?" "Yes," replied Grabowski. "Did he admit that he met Nanette on North Avenue?" asked Maxine. "Yes. He decided that it was better to tell the truth to police. But his story has a problem. He said he drove her home." "Home?" said Maxine. "But she was on North Avenue when she got into the taxi." Grabowski nodded. "Aaron says he doesn't know how she got back to North Avenue, but I think he's lying." "Maxine, Aaron knew Nanette very well. He told me they were having an affair." Maxine looked surprised and went quiet for a few moments. Aaron found out that Nanette was walking around North Avenue. He loved her and felt responsible for her. He made her come home. "You don't know how Aaron felt about her," Grabowski said. "Maybe he wanted to end the affair, and she wouldn't let him. Maybe she was driving him crazy." "That's not a reason for murder. Besides, where did he get the poison?" "You've known him for years," Grabowski continued. "You must have talked about your research. He must have visited you at your lab and somehow stole the drug. He could have put it in a piece of candy or something." "So you think Aaron attacked me at the tennis club and in my car?" Grabowski shrugged. "Well, no one knows where he was during those hours. I can't prove any of this, but I'm watching him." He stretched and stood up. "I'm going for a swim." Birds flew over the beach. Maxine drank her coffee and watched Grabowski swim in the cold water of Lake Michigan. Maxine tried to think. What did she know that was making the murderer of Nanette nervous? Maybe Nanette had said something important in the ER before she died. She thought about the night Nanette died. Nanette had said she had never felt sick like this before. She had said she took a pill, whatever that meant. A car stopped in front of the house. Hank got out. "How did you find me?" Maxine asked. Hank sat down on the steps next to her. "Everybody at Mercy Hospital knows you are here. I hear Grabowski thinks Aaron killed Nanette." "Grabowski's a detective," Maxine said. "It's his job to suspect everyone, and Aaron does look pretty suspicious at the moment." "Did he tell you that he knew Nanette was walking around in the inner city at night? Did he tell you he saw her the night she died?" "Yes." "Maxine, he didn't kill her. I'm sure. He couldn't have." "Hank, tell me the truth. Did you know that Nanette was walking around North Avenue?" Maxine asked. Hank nodded. "I found out about a month ago. I phoned home several nights when I was working late. Nanette wasn't home. She wasn't with any of our friends. So I paid a private detective to follow her. He said she went to North Avenue to get information for her university degree. He said she watched the street life. Hank, why didn't you tell Grabowski that you knew where Nanette was on the night she died? I didn't know where she was, answered Hank. I was in Chicago. But I figured it out when Grabowski told me she was wearing those terrible clothes. I didn't tell Grabowski because I didn't think her research on North Avenue was connected to her death. But you should have told Grabowski. He still suspects everyone. He even thinks you could have killed her. Me? Why? Hank said in surprise. Because you came to my house after she died and you stayed all night. Grabowski thinks that shows that you didn't care about her, that you cared about me. Grabowski knows about that? Hank frowned, worried. You parked your car on the wrong side of the street, and the street cleaner called the police, remember? You got a parking ticket. Then Grabowski must also think you had a reason to kill her, said Hank angrily. You could have got the poison. He sighed. I wish you hadn't started this investigation, Maxine. My friends and colleagues don't like having police come to their homes and asking them personal questions. I don't like it either. He got in his car and drove away. As he drove away, Grabowski came back from his swim. What did Hank want? I'm not sure. He told me he paid a private detective to follow Nanette, so he knew that Nanette was going there. Grabowski wasn't surprised. Lavelle said that Nanette talked to two men. One man just talked to her while Lavelle was there. The second man drove her away in his car the night she died. That was Aaron. Maybe Hank was the first man, Maxine suggested. Why didn't you ask Hank if he talked to Nanette when she was on North Avenue? Also, I can show photos of Hank to Lavelle. Let's go and get them. They're in my house. Good idea, said Grabowski, but I go alone. You stay here. And keep the door locked. When Grabowski got back, he sat down with Maxine and looked at the photos. There were photos of Hank talking to Virginia. Charlie was standing behind them. Aaron and Karina were eating. On Tuesday afternoon, Maxine went back to work at Mercy Hospital ER. She still had bruises on her neck and now her right arm was bandaged from wrist to elbow, but she could use both her hands. The ER doors opened, and the first patient of the night was Lavelle. She had fallen again and cut her arm even more badly than before. I'm going home to Alabama, Lavelle said. I'm tired of Milwaukee. I've got about $10,000 in the bank. I'm gonna buy a house near my mother. A friend will drive me tonight. We'll get there in 2 days. Where did you get $10,000, honey? Shirley asked. Lavelle didn't answer. Shirley washed Lavelle's arm, and Maxine started to work on the cut. She noticed the pale spots on Lavelle's arm again. Lavelle, when did you get these spots? She asked. Lavelle shrugged. Maxine walked outside with Lavelle to wait for her friend to pick her up. Before you go, said Maxine, could you look at these other photos? Tell me if you saw this man? She showed her the photos she took at the last party. Lavelle pointed to Hank. That's the man who talked to her first, a few days before she died. He was the one that drove away. Thanks, said Maxine. Lavelle's friend drove up, and Lavelle got into the car. Lavelle leaned out the window. The police don't really think you killed Mae West, do they? Lavelle asked Maxine. Maxine frowned. The police are watching several people besides me. The problem is, we don't know why anyone would want to kill Nanette. So the police are watching people who knew about that poison and had the chance to poison Nanette. And that includes me. Lavelle spoke quietly. The night Mae West died, she may have met somebody else. If she did, then that might be why she died. Who is this person? Demanded Maxine. I don't know the name. I shouldn't be saying any of this. I could get into trouble. Lavelle looked nervous. It's someone in the photo you showed me. And go to North Avenue and 24th Street, she whispered as the car moved away. Wait! Lavelle! North Avenue and 24th is where the taxi picked up Mae West. I've been there. There are only old houses and empty stores. But the car was already out of sight.